Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're taking a look at Violent Night, the new holiday action comedy starring David Harbour as a tyrannical Santa Claus is out. We're also going to take a look at Empire of Light, Sam Mendes' newest feature. The director of 1917 has a new film out that he's written and directed, and nobody's seeing it except us. We went and checked it out, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some upcoming trailers, things that are coming out that we think are worth knowing about going into the holiday season and beyond. And most importantly, we need to start with the news. Big show this week, Andy. We got a lot going on this week.
That's right. A lot has happened in the last couple of weeks.
A lot is happening. Not to mention, next week is our episode 200. Oh man, I wish I could say we had
Avatar.
I wish I could say we had huge, grandiose plans, and we do, but they may not develop into a huge, grandiose show. Next week, we're talking about Avatar: The Way of Water, which we're both. Well, I'm excited to see. Andy's skeptical, which I think makes for the best reviews. And we're also going to be taking a look at our top 10 of 2022. It's going to be a big week, but this week's big too, and I got to get to it. First thing, oh my gosh, the Fablemans, Banshees of Inisherin, and Bones and All are all going to premium video on demand, following some struggling box office numbers. This follows a trend we've been seeing of just like premiere films, like really exciting award nominated stuff. Hopefully, nobody's seeing it.
No one is going. No one is seeing it.
Most interestingly, I think, is The Fablemans, the new Steven Spielberg picture based on his life about filmmaking itself and love and family. Spielberg things. Nobody's going to see it. So it's going to premium video on demand, not to mention the Banshees of Inisherin, which we watched on this show and really enjoyed, and Bones and All, which we also watched on this show and really enjoyed. So 2 out of 3 of these are good movies, and I think The Fablemans is probably pretty good too.
Man, yeah, it's been really surprising, or actually not surprising, but a lot of these prestige films are just doing so bad out of the gate. The studios are like, get this to VOD as soon as you can, because that's kind of their last chance to get any kind of close the gap financially. That's how they really count on the VOD money. But some of these, like Bones and All, has only been in release for 18 days. That is nuts. Like a little over 3 weeks, and it's already available to rent. That's today. And then simply, I mean, Banshees has been out for almost 2 months, so that doesn't surprise me much. But Spielberg, the Fablemans, is not doing particularly well.
23 days after wide release, The Fablemans goes to VOD. 3 weeks and 2 days. Amazing.
We used to have they used to require 90-day windows, and that seems almost baffling that you ever
less than a third
had to wait. And I think this is really helpful for these smaller films that don't really find an audience. I think there was a lot of marketing poor choices. Like both Fablemans and Bones and All were released over Thanksgiving with 4 other films, right on the heels of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, that people were still going to see. They weren't really heavily marketed, because I think these would have done better in different windows. Bones and All, you put it somewhere in January, February, somewhere like that. In addition to these, we also have movies like Tar, Till, Armageddon Time, and Triangle of Sadness, which are also going not straight to VOD, but they had very short runs wherever they went, and then all this prestige stuff is going straight to VOD because no one's going to see it.
I know I keep like making a big deal that it's Spielberg and that I can't believe Spielberg is going to premium VOD, but like it doesn't come without some great credence, right? Context is important. A lot of the movies we see now in theaters making big numbers, right? Things like Top Gun Maverick, Spider-Man, even maybe Avatar. These films are like inspired by the works of films like Steven Spielberg. Like he laid the groundwork for like the modern adventure film. He has brought cinema like to a generation that has grown and developed to love action and adventure and a lot of the things that these larger movies now represent. And as Spielberg has gotten older, he's slid into this seat where he is, doing the Martin Scorsese thing. He's doing things a bit more intimate, a bit more personal, things he really wants to do, but maybe don't have the biggest audience. And it's weird to see Spielberg, who also seemingly loves to rail against streaming versus like the magic of the silver screen. It's weird to see him have a movie come out and be so quietly released, most people miss it. And now just in less than 4 weeks, it's already going to a streaming service, the very thing he swore to destroy. I know it's premium video on demand. It's not like Netflix, right? It is still kind of a step up. but it's just weird. Like, I guess, you hope your great cinematic heroes will like travel boldly, pioneer into the new space, and he would embrace streaming and want to get into it. And instead, he doesn't want anything to do with it right up until he needs to make some money back on his hot new movie. And then, but again, Fableman's is a personal thing. I haven't seen it. Maybe it's great. I don't know, but this indicates maybe not.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, Spielberg should really kind of be doing more like what James Cameron is doing. He's doing this big, huge, massive production, and he's putting his name behind it. That's kind of what people know Spielberg for. They don't know him for his small, dramatic features, even though he can absolutely do those. It's just not what he's known for.
Yeah, I do need to see the Fablemans though. There's a small chance, as somebody who once wanted to make movies, maybe I'll connect with it. I don't know, but I guess I'll be watching it in the comfort of my own home because it won't be in theaters much longer. Our next story: Warner Brothers Discovery closes in on Max. Is the name of its combined HBO Max Discovery Plus streaming service. A little bit of context, Andy, for maybe new listeners. What is this Warner Discovery merger exactly? And what do they mean when they say they're going to rename everything Max? Does that
Right.
make sense to me?
So Warner Brothers merged with Discovery. I think Discovery actually bought Warner Brothers, and so they want to come out with a service that's a combination of both things on Discovery Plus and HBO Max and some other hubs. They're thinking of names, and they have kind of loosely settled on just Max for this hub, and it'll have things from Discovery Plus on it, HBO Max, DC, Studio Ghibli, just all the things that Warner Brothers owns. I think this is not a good name for this. You have to have HBO somewhere in there because that's what people know you for, is this prestige television. You got to have that in there. Also, they are aiming to release this new streaming service sometime in the spring, which has been pushed up. It was eyeing the summer release. Now they're saying it's going to come out in spring. We don't have any details as far as pricing goes or any of that, what kind of ad tiers, but I'm sure that's to come.
I think like the biggest fans of HBO have not liked the sound of this deal for a long time. I haven't on this show. I've been vocal about it. I know Andy doesn't either. And this like does not help the situation. I'm glad Discovery has made incredible strides in terrestrial television, right? And cable. That's great. But that's so not the landscape we're in now. And it seems so baffling that after HBO and Warner Brothers have already had trouble naming their service, you all remember HBO Go and HBO Now. Now that we've gotten to a place that people seem pretty settled, the idea of eliminating HBO out of that makes the brand seem like less. HBO is a prestige brand. It has been since it started in 1972, 50 years ago, and it took 50 years to build generational value where parents would watch it and then their kids would see their parents watching it and then they'd subscribe, and now we're at a point where HBO is seen as genuinely a home box office, right? An experience you can't get anywhere else. It's not TV, it's HBO. And just like Disney bringing in Bob Chapek and jacking up park prices and pissing people off, like HBO and Warner are starting to burn through like this intangible like currency of like affection that people have developed over the years to make a buck, right? Discovery's talking about renaming it and putting toddlers and tiaras on there, and it's like I really think you guys might be better off keeping it separate. It's like if somebody bought Campbell's soup and it was like, we're gonna rename it, I don't know, soup or some junk. Like, why would you do that?
Well, it's like
I don't understand it.
It's like if Disney Plus had come out and named it anything other than Disney in the name, like Imagination streaming service, something like that. Like, no, you got to have Disney in the name, and same thing here. But the positive thing is David Zaslav at Warner Brothers is really looking to shake and move with this thing and make some real big changes. So we'll be getting a new streaming service that's going to have a lot more content. That probably means it's going to get more expensive, go up from the $14.99 that it is now, and we'll see what other kind of changes are to come.
Yeah, a good mention here. Commercial-free monthly subscriptions to HBO Max and Discovery Plus cost $14.99 and $6.99 respectively. So if you're going to have both, you'd be looking at $22 before tax. We don't know what this new service will cost. I really hope they don't ditch the HBO name. I really don't. Or if they do, put it on ice for like 6 months and just see how this does, and then maybe go back or make a separate app. Like I don't know. I think Max sounds, I don't know, impersonal.
Boring,
It's lacking something.
uninspired.
Uninspired. Yes,
Yeah.
uninspired is the word. Like I said, I can imagine seeing it on like my parents' Roku, like when they're scrolling through stuff to watch, and they got stuff they know: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and then you get to the stuff that's a little weirder, like Tubi and Pluto. Like Max would fit right in there. Like it just doesn't say anything. It doesn't get that oomph. It doesn't have that thing, and that thing is HBO. Like you want to hang on to that, but I get it. Discovery Man wants everything to be, whatever. He knows his cable TV. Maybe he can suss out the streaming stuff. Our next story,
Well, a couple of
Go ahead.
other things I wanted to mention about
yeah.
happenings at HBO. So HBO is going to be available also back on Amazon Prime. They took it off Amazon Prime a couple years ago because they weren't happy with certain transparencies. Amazon has all the infrastructure, and there were certain like customer metrics they were unwilling to share with HBO, and so HBO took it off. Now they're going back on, which just indicates HBO is trying to get as wide a footprint as possible. And they've also pulled a number of shows that have been announced recently that will be completely pulled off the HBO Max streaming service entirely, like Westworld, which was an original HBO show. They're going to pull it and license it elsewhere, so they don't have to pay the residuals. But again, it's just part of these really big changes happening over at Warner Brothers with David Zaslav and the new leadership.
It is baffling to me that they're pulling Westworld. Like I can't believe that. I know like axing Batwoman was a surprise, but it wasn't something that would come out yet, and like it seemed like they didn't have a lot of confidence in it. Like Westworld is very much a prestige brand that has generated them like, I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Like, what do you mean you're getting rid of it? Like, and I get the idea of not paying residuals, but additionally, there's a show that just got axed. Minx, I think is what it is. They're filming season 2. They already got cleared for season 2, and apparently they're nearly done filming. And Warner Brothers just told them yesterday, "Hey, you're done. We're not running this. Thanks." And also, we're taking season 1 off. We're going to shop it. And like they're axing a show right as they're finishing production, and they're saying this isn't going anywhere. Thanks. Like, what is going on? Like the money that's getting thrown around here, I don't get it. Yeah,
the
it's
cuts
not
are absurd.
Yeah, it's not cheap to produce a show and then decide we're just not going to do anything with it. That's typically why you have things like pilot episodes to decide if you want to keep going. And a rigorous strategy. Anyway, I don't get what HBO's doing. Like, I don't know. But keep it here on Oscar.
Scorched earth.
It seems like such a far cry from the company that when the pandemic goes down goes, okay, we're putting all our theatricals and we're putting all our big movies in simultaneous HBO and theaters. We don't care what you think. We're pulling all our stuff off Amazon because we want our brand to be really unique and singular. Like, and now it's like the just exact opposite direction. Could not turn the steering wheel harder to the left, like to get out of this situation. It's weird. It doesn't. I don't know. New CEO, new ideas. Our next story: Black Adam to lose millions at the box office. This is a weird story. Black Adam facing some theatrical losses. There were some issues with this being reported. Supposedly there have been some funny numbers floating around, but as far as we can tell, Warner Brothers says Black Adam did not make the money it needed to make. Right?
Yeah. Well, this is weird because this directly contradicts The Rock himself posting some numbers on Twitter saying, oh, it's made 40, 50, 70 million in the black. And that has not seemed to be the case at all. Everyone has been reporting that it's going to lose $100 million, that, it needed to make $600 million to make profit or break even, something like that, probably make profit. And it is just around 4. So, I mean, 400 million is really impressive, but not for a $200 million movie. It's grossly underperformed. And Dwayne Johnson being the star, who generally he's kind of box office gold. He generally never fumbles, but he's trying to spin this because it's his name all over, and he's advocated for this movie for so long, and it's been kind of a dud. By the way, it will be available this Friday on HBO Max.
Perfect plug. Well done. That's comedic timing to a fault. That was great. Yeah, you didn't say anything I don't agree with. Like, I think Black Adam, I wish it did better, but I mean, he pointed out on Twitter, Dwayne Johnson pointed out, because he's been very vocal about this. He was like, look, this isn't very different from how like the Captain America movie started, right? The first Captain America movie didn't blow people out of the water, but they build it up and they keep going. It turns into a hero. And I see no reason why Black Adam couldn't be that, some kind of hero or villain or force in DC Universe. I think Johnson certainly wants that to be that. But James Gunn and Peter Safran, who are the new CEOs of DC, it's a split position. They might have different ideas. We don't exactly know what they're going to do next. This ties into our other story for this week. Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward at DC because James Gunn and Peter Safran have been coming up on the mountain working out like what exactly they're going to do with DC and coming up with a plan, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be in the same direction they've been going.
Nothing can scare our favorite heroes more than a corporate executive cutting everything. It seems again, DC is aiming to completely steer the ship, do some really new things. And we don't know what that looks like. We don't know if they're going to do a whole complete reboot. It seems like they're going to try and keep, this is what they do in comics, that they're going to try and keep the things that work and people like, and they're going to get rid of the things that they didn't. That can be kind of messy, but that's what they're going to do. And part of that is, not going forward on a number of projects. And the big one here is Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward. And what's really bizarre about that is the day before this announced, Gal Gadot tweeted that she very kind of coyly tweeted, like, I look forward to continuing the journey with Wonder Woman a third time. And then the next day they talk about they're axing her film. So that was kind of embarrassing, but I mean, they're just cutting things and they're looking to, I think, especially cut ties with the old DC universe. They're looking to reboot this thing and just go in a wildly new direction.
She's not the only one, by the way, that feels like they might have been slighted by this. Johnson has been very vocal about Black Adam, even though that doesn't seem to be going his way. Henry Cavill, after Black Adam came out, made a video on Instagram after the opening weekend saying he announced he wanted to make it official. He's officially back as Superman, which is great. Now, we're not even sure if that's for sure anymore. There's been some talks of Aquaman star Jason Momoa being recast as a character called Lobo. Maybe he'll be moved around. Like, nobody really knows yet. And as far as I know, I think this week is supposed to be the week they're sitting down with Warner Brothers people to talk about this and say, hey, here's our plan. Not all properties are up in the air. As far as we can tell, Matt Reeves' Batman movie and upcoming series are totally fine. They don't want to mess with that. Joker 2 is definitely still happening. In fact, there was a still posted from that just this weekend when production started, which is exciting. Shazam Fury of the Gods is still coming. Blue Beetle is still happening. But one thing's for sure, the Justice League's getting shook up. And hopefully,
yeah, that's
hopefully
the
our favorites come out
part.
on the other side.
That's the complicated part, is there's still 4 movies in the previous leadership to come out. That's Shazam 2, Blue, like you said, Blue Beetle. Oh yeah, Flash and Aquaman. So Aquaman doesn't come out till December 2023. So we still have a year of old DC movies to plow through before any kind of new direction even get started. At best they might start on some production of something in 2023, but it's going to be a while, probably 2024 and beyond, before we see anything quote unquote new DC.
We should keep an eye out for like Marvel style reshoots in our DC movies. I wonder if they'll start like adding in scenes that they do like reshoots of to like work in some kind of larger narrative. Like the Flash shows up in Aquaman when he originally wasn't going to be in there or something, like start build out like,
I've heard
because you're right, they've got a year of direction. Like maybe they could shape this somehow.
I've heard it's kind of the opposite of that's happened. Is they shot a bunch of cameos and people are supposed to show up, and then they might just not include those.
Perfect. I love it. hopefully, hopefully James Gunn and Peter Safran have big plans for DC. With that, we should move on to our first film of the episode. I think. God, way too much news this week. I can't
A lot
keep
of
up.
news. A lot of
Well, we were
news.
out last week. It makes sense. So here it is. Andy's been taking the summary on this one. Very excited to talk about this movie. This was something I didn't expect. I think it's more than it says in the tin. Andy, please take it away.
Violent Night. So this is a new kind of action comedy Christmas movie starring David Harbour as Santa Claus. We meet him in a bar on Christmas Eve, and he's totally getting hammered, and he's lost the spirit of Christmas. He says, kids kids these days, they don't appreciate things. People have just lost the spirit, and he's kind of lost the spirit too. And he's like, maybe I'm gonna hang it up. So that's the state we find him in. And during the course of his night of giving out presents, he lands in this very wealthy family, the Lightstones, who are being not kidnapped, but they're being kind of assaulted by this black ops team that says, we know you have several $100 million hidden here. We're going to get it. We're going to steal it from you. There's some family dynamics going on. And this kind of turns, it's almost the premise of Die Hard movie, where Santa becomes the hero who must fight back against this Black Ops team, who have very funny, like, Christmas themed code names like Candy Cane and Gingerbread and things like this. And he has to come in and save the day. And that's our premise. This movie's a lot of fun. I was really surprised. It's funny. It's got good action. It's could be a modern classic, some people think. So, Zach, what'd you think?
So if you've seen the trailer for Violent Night, and you may not recall it because it might have been forgettable, it's the movie with the violent Santa, right? Santa gets in the house, and there's some criminals, and they're on his naughty list, and he's gonna go get them, and he uses a variety of Christmas themed weapons. He's got a candy cane. He just sucks into a point and stabs somebody with. He uses his magical bag to, like, all kinds of stuff. And it seems so cheesy, and it seems so schlocky, and it just, like, goofy Deadpool style self-referential humor, like, look at the camera, wink and nod, like, and I think it is maybe harder now, like, than it's been in prior years to pull that off, because people can see it coming, and it's not very clever. But Violent Night is, like, I'm very pleased to say, a real delight, and is really funny, and actually has a surprisingly good script with some really good performances in it. It's got a lot of, like, it's got this holiday sheen to it that's really cheesy and schlocky and rose-colored glasses, but it manages to, like, dispel that just enough to be corny but also funny. Like, lots of one-liners, goofy moments, incredibly violent. I'm actually excited to talk about it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yes, Violent Night is good stuff. Where do we start talking about this?
Oh gosh, well, we can get into our plot a little bit more. We have this wealthy family, the Lightstones. Beverly D'Angelo plays the matriarch of the family. She kind of controls all the money. There's the son Jason and his wife and daughter, who are kind of good, wealthy people, and then they have, like, this jerk grandson, and, like, the sister-in-laws not not cool. So you have a dysfunctional family trying to get through the holidays. And then you also have, like, the cast of baddies led brilliantly by John Leguizamo, who is Scrooge. That's literally his code name.
Mr. Scrooge.
And he literally hates Christmas, and he's got an elaborate backstory of why exactly. And he plays it so serious. I mean, it's so like good. Yeah, and he's like, and that's why this will be the last Christmas you ever see, this kind of thing. And he's got his party of goons, like I said, gingerbread, sugar plum, candy cane, and everything is, like, Christmased out. Like, anytime you can, like, name something Christmas or put tinsel or wrapping paper on something, they do, and it totally works, even though it shouldn't. But that kind of family dynamic plot we have amidst this robbery heist thing that's going on, and it works really well. And again, our main character Santa was also trying to re-spark the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, I think, like, the script is really outstanding for this movie. It's got so many Christmas gags that of course, like Santa, David Harbour, plays totally straight because in Santa's world, all of these things are real, right? Somebody else, he'll be drinking at the bar, and somebody will say, "Hey, you're not driving, are you?" And he'll be like, "Well, the reindeer do most of the work, but I kind of just steer." And everybody laughs because they think, "Oh, the guy dressed up as Santa is making a funny joke." And it's got that double entendre of you knowing it's funny because it's real, and he's looking at all of them, rolling his eyes like these people don't get it. Nobody appreciates what I'm doing anymore. And it's so like perfectly on the nose for like jaded adults, which is exactly the audience is going to be seeing this in an R-rated picture. It's funny coming from this team of writers. It's written by Pat Casey and Josh Miller, who wrote the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. That's pretty much what they've done, 1 and 2, and then this. And this is like so different. But those movies have a bit of something to them. There's something there, and I feel like they managed to tap into that even deeper here. Harbour does a great job as Santa Claus. Leguizamo is Mr. Scrooge is also so perfect because he's the one guy who won't believe it. He can't believe in Santa Claus, right? Because he's the bad guy. Like he's like, no, he's just some guy in a suit. It's perfect. Like, of course, the bad guy doesn't believe in him, right? Like, you got to be good to believe in Santa. You got to be on the good list. And then on top of that, like, you have this family, the Lightstones, who are uh super snobby, high class, and terrible to each other. Beverly D'Angelo, coming right out of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, is actually surprisingly funny as this very bossy, very mean, grumpy woman. And Edie Patterson comes right off of the set of The Righteous Gemstones over on HBO to be like this older woman who's a daughter, an heiress to a fortune, and it's just a total dope, just a total maroon, and like is mean about it and is not funny. Like she's great. I even like the girl they got, Leah Brady as Trudy Lightstone, is like really innocent and cute, has a bit of a Home Alone thing at one point. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed like the cast and the layers of storytelling going into this very simple idea. Because in the trailer, it plays like it just seems like such a gimmick. Like, oh, there's not going to be a lot to this, and it's like surprisingly involved. I was really impressed.
Yeah, it could easily be that kind of gimmicky movie where it's like, oh, violent Santa, and it could phone it in and do it real cheap. But it, like I said, they work hard to develop a good script that has likable characters, a good bad guys, good enemies. We have, real we have family conflicts, internal conflicts to, overcome, learn our lessons, learn the meaning of Christmas again. All these things. That's what's funny to me is that these are all Christmas movie tropes that we've seen 100 times in Christmas movies, but it achieves all those things in a really fun way. Like, Santa rediscovers the meaning of Christmas through this violent, action-packed escapade. It's that kind of stuff where we're still hitting all the beats from a normal like Hallmark Christmas movie, but it's in this action-packed way.
Well, the action's good stuff. I forgot until a little ways into this. Harbour not only is known for his stage work and his work in Stranger Things as sheriff. What's his name? I can't remember. But he also did Hellboy. He did the Hellboy remake, not the original Guillermo del Toro ones. He did the new one. And I realized a little bit into this, watching some of the action, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. Like this big dude who's just pounding on people, right? And also getting thrown around the room. And that's something that I think Harbour like manages to really thread perfect. Santa is scared for his life. Like Santa makes no bones about not being, he's not invincible. Like if Santa gets shot, Santa's probably going to die. So the first third of this movie, when Harbour's in this house and he finds out, like hears gunshots, there's something going on, he's like peeking around corners and like trying to get back up the chimney. It's great. Like, and then when he gets pulled into fighting, like that's when he discovers, oh, there's a family here and there's a young girl who I have to help because I'm Santa Claus, and it's my, I got to do the right thing. Like that's the right thing to do. I like the way this movie plays with the idea of Christmas magic. It's used sparingly. It'd be easy to make Christmas magic like the Force in Star Wars, right? Can get you out of any situation. Every time Santa's fighting somebody, he's going to snap his fingers and something magical is going to happen. But no, he basically doesn't ever get to use it. And when he does, he kind of says like, I don't really get how it works. He's got kind of a vague past just built around the general idea of Santa Claus. And that creates like a charming situation where the movie is not jumping over itself trying to explain things. They don't try to explain how does Santa make it to 1 billion houses in one night. They don't try to explain the magic. They're like, it is what it is. He's Santa Claus, and he's in this house when this family gets raided, and now, now it is what it is. And I can't believe like how much comedy manages to come out of like what otherwise sounds like a pretty thin idea.
Yeah, the like you said, the action is a lot of fun. You get a lot of hand-to-hand combat, as well as like there's guns and blunt weapons, and like you said, tons of comedy from like this dysfunctional family. A lot of tongue-in-cheek things about just Christmas jokes, and there's this big tribute and homage to Home Alone in the movie. Like it doesn't, try. It's very blatant, very straightforward. I think they actually refer to Home Alone in the movie, but it also kind of takes some beats from that. So it's it's paying tribute to these classic Christmas movies that came before it. And again, it's an idea. It's a thin idea that more often than not wouldn't work or wouldn't go over very well or would be poorly done. But they've managed to do this really solidly, and there's potential that this could have a sequel or spawn a franchise even.
Yeah, and funnily enough, like it doesn't just stop at like Home Alone and Die Hard. There's a handful of other Christmas movies are referenced in here. I noticed The Ref, a Dennis Leary movie where he has to sit there like a burglar has to sit there and listen to this family argue like while they're being held hostage. That's definitely baked in here. Like the Lightstones are arguing the whole movie. Which is great because they're all total goofballs, like, but in a serious, upstanding sort of way. I got a laugh out of John Leguizamo saying at one point, "Christmas dies tonight," because it's like evil dies tonight.
Evil dies tonight. Yeah.
And that's a subtle reminder that like this movie is like the inverse slasher. Your hero is the one guy that all the bad guys are trying to get away from. Unlike who like rooting for Michael Myers to kill teenagers, you're rooting for Santa Claus to ice baddies, right? And spread Christmas cheer. I'm surprised at how funny I thought this movie was. Just that opening scene when Harbor's at the bar and he's drinking and he like looks in the mirror and he's like, maybe this is the year I hang it up. Like I started laughing in my seat. It's of course, right? Like
he plays
you're about to watch a 90. Yeah, right. Like you're about to watch a 90-minute movie about Santa Claus beating on people, and it opens with him being like, well, that's it. This is the last year I do Christmas. Like it's like freaking Rudolph, same gag. Like I think I'm done doing Christmas. I don't want to do it anymore. And somebody's got to inspire him to come back. Like I'm really impressed with how much I like this movie because I really did not think it was going to be much of anything. It's good work, and I'm excited to see what these writers do again. The director Tommy Wirkola, the thing you'd most know him from is Hansel and Gretel Vampire Hunters, like that Jeremy Renner movie in like 2013. If you remember that, it was kind of like Van Helsing, right? He did a couple movies, a couple German films. I think I assume he's a German director, but I haven't looked up much into him. But like all around good stuff. Yeah. I think Violent Night's pretty good stuff. Any other thoughts or recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Violent Night?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. It was surprisingly way better than I thought it was going to be. There's action, there's comedy, there's general Christmas cheer. We got great performances, very dramatic performances from David Harbour as Santa Claus, John Leguizamo as Scrooge, a number of other people thrown in there. Like I said, it's funny. It really leans into its own idea. Santa ends up having this elaborate backstory, which is really interesting. And it's not too long, and it's Christmas. Tis the season. So yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I can't believe how much I like this movie. I watched it with a smile on my face. I'm looking forward to watching it again in future holidays. Like Violent Night is surprisingly fun. I think it's consistent. I think it's got a good tone. Yeah, check out Violent Night. I think it's really fun. I almost wish it was on a streaming service because that's where I would have thought this would have come out. And if it was, it'd be much easier to recommend and tell everybody to watch it. But right now, you got to go see it in theaters. And when it's out on a streaming service in January, you may not care anymore. Come next year, if you don't see it.
Yeah,
Violent
this is definitely one of those movies you could watch like yearly, make it a Christmas tradition.
Yeah, like very, very much pulling in that like Die Hard attention of like, yeah, it's action, but also like it's kind of cool. And like, yeah, Violent Night, rock solid. With that, we should move into our next segment. Andy, you mind introducing this for me?
It's time for the trailer park. So we got a number of trailers that have come out in the last couple of weeks. A lot of big deal things. that we've been looking forward to. A lot to talk about. I'm going to take the first one called Cocaine Bear, which is an amazing name for a movie. This is a new kind of dark comedy based on the premise of a bear in the woods comes across a package of cocaine, consumes most of it, and becomes just this crazy wild out bear, gonna kill everything. And this is from, is it Elizabeth Banks, I think?
Yes.
uh and this coming out in February, and it just looks ridiculous. It's a ridiculous absurdist comedy. You got the CGI bear killing everyone, no one can stop it. It looks like a lot of fun.
I'm mildly interested in Cocaine Bear. I think the thing I'm most interested in is the cast. I've noticed a couple people I've seen from like TikTok in that movie. And also Alden Ehrenreich, hot off the set of Solo, who we haven't seen in much of anything other than television. Here he is in Cocaine Bear. He appears to be one of the characters. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be good stuff. Like it doesn't. Maybe it'll be like Violent Night, right? Like I'm not really hopeful watching the trailer, but who knows? Maybe it'll turn into something great. Our next film is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I am not a big Transformers fan. I've seen a couple of the movies. So believe me when I say this new spin on Transformers, not directed by Michael Bay, it's coming from Stephen Cable Jr. He's following the Beast Wars plot line, which also don't know a lot about. I think it was a thing in the 90s. Either way, Anthony Ramos is appearing as our young protagonist who seems to be surrounded by Autobots that all have stuff going on, I guess. Andy, what do you think of the Transformers trailer?
So I have not been a fan either of Transformers past the first one. And even then, I mean, those old Michael Bay's films are really kind of problematic in a lot of ways. Like they're super sexist, a little racist, and they're just not good films. Like it's just a bunch of like noise almost. This trailer really got me excited though. I was not expecting. I think having a different director, having different direction. The animal transformer things look a lot cooler than I thought they would be. You got Peter Cullen, who's been like the original voice of Optimus Prime since the 80s, returning. It looks super cool. And I remember in the kind of 2000s Transformers movies, you had like Bumblebee and the Charger, the yellow Charger was like the iconic thing in the movie. And there's a Porsche 911 that's going to be like front and center, and there's some new Transformers. It got me a little hype, and I was a little inspired. I was like, this actually looks really good.
I'm surprised too. I did not get so hype about it, but I feel like I've been sour on Transformers movies for a while. Maybe this will be the one. I didn't see Bumblebee. Maybe this will be the one that really turns me around.
And it's going to take place in the 90s, which is some of these movies have kind of not been
get around that pesky problem of your characters having a phone that's connected to the internet at all times, right?
Yeah.
Set it in the 90s, done and done.
We also got a very big trailer last week, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is the latest and hopefully the last, probably not the last installment of this franchise. We see Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford back in the whip and fedora, along with Phoebe Waller-Bridges. Mads Mikkelsen is also in this. We don't get a lot of plot details. We see a lot of kind of action things that we're used to seeing from this franchise. And it's one of those like kind of, well, we're done, back for one last ride. It looks fun. We're not given any kind of plot details. We're just kind of seeing who's in the movies. We also see appearances by Boyd Holbrook. You might recognize him from Narcos, and Antonio Banderas as well. This Dial of Destiny, there's a shot of it in the trailer. That's going to be the thing that they're after, and we'll see what all that's about. And we see CGI de-aged Harrison Ford, which is fairly convincing. Zach, what do you think of this trailer?
I think it looks surprisingly better than I thought it was gonna. It's easy to be skeptical about Indiana Jones, especially because we've already played this game once when Crystal Skull came out. That was supposed to be Harrison Ford's last ride, right? And like that's the big new thing. It's gonna be a handoff picture, and they're gonna give it to Shia LaBeouf, and then the last second, Ford grabs the hat back. Like, no way, kid. Like I'm not giving it up. And so now maybe that's what this is. I think it's from director James Mangold, which is exciting. Ford v Ferrari, Logan. I mean, I think this man knows how to wrap up a story about an old so and so. But I heard test screenings weren't that good, and I don't know where it's going to go. And I swear to God, if they do some stupid thing where time traveling young evil Nazi Indiana Jones comes back and fights old Indiana Jones, I'm going to throw my popcorn at the screen.
Well,
So
well, once you've done Aliens, the only place to go is time travel.
right, and Dial of Destiny, and they show the younger one, and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna, like, maybe that's just a far cry, but like, I don't know what they're gonna do.
I think you nailed it. I think there is gonna be time travel.
If they do, dude, if they make young Indy fight old Indy, I'm leaving the theater. No, I won't. I'll watch that whole movie.
I could do this all day.
But you hear the big music, right? You hear the John Williams score. Like, it's easy to get excited, I think. So
yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
I think the challenging thing with something like Indiana Jones is really getting the mystery to engage and really capture people, because that's what, like, the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders, or the Grail in the third one, in the Last Crusade, like, those mysteries are, they tie over, they connect just enough to real life objects and traditions and histories that it really pulls people in. They really like, oh, this could be a real thing. And I think that's the real challenge, is having a mystery, having an object that really grabs people. And unfortunately, that's one of the shortcomings of Crystal Skull, is the Crystal Skulls, just, they're not that super interesting.
Yeah. One thing worth mentioning, by the way, before we move off this, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is not only very likely Harrison Ford's last ride as Indy, it is John Williams' final score, which is weird to say. He says he's done after that one. That's his last movie. So what a way to go out. In a weird way, I think I'm going to be enjoying that soundtrack as much as I am Ford's performance, because good Lord. Anyway.
Iconic.
Dude, more than, oh my God, iconic. With that, we should move on to our last trailer before we move on to Empire of Light. The movie is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yes, James Gunn, shortly before getting his DC gig, wrapped filming and production on Guardians 3. They are still putting the finishing touches on it, but we have an official trailer out. This will be our final ride for our Guardians. Dave Bautista said he hates putting on the makeup, and he's only getting older. It's not getting easier. I think they're all kind of moving on to other things. It is so weird to be seeing the final Guardians movie, because I feel like it wasn't that long ago we got the first one, but it was like a decade ago. That's how time works. And I wish they had been able to do more with these characters. I hope 3 is an exciting ride start to finish. I know additional characters include Adam Warlock, played by the kid with the eyebrows, Will Poulter.
Yep.
And, there's a couple other guest stars in there. They look like those kooky adventures. As far as I know, this one's going to focus a bit more on Rocket Raccoon. James Gunn said he really wants to wrap up his story. Played by Bradley Cooper, voice. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in Guardians 3, but it looks like something. Andy, what do you think?
I think it looks good. Again, James Gunn he's like a music connoisseur, and he always picks good music for these things. The soundtrack to the first Guardians became a huge thing, and he's picked some more outstanding music for this. And again, it's one of these one last ride. This is it for the team. It'll be nice to see an arc opened and closed, unlike something like Thor 4, which is just, Thor 4's last score. Very poor. And they're probably gonna do another, like, a 5th Thor movie. And I just came up with that right now.
You did not. I was gonna say, did you take that from film Twitter? Thor score, Thor 4. It's fine.
So
it's fine. Go ahead.
But like that franchise, like the Thor franchise, is kind of declining, because they don't really know how to wrap it up. Don't know how to they don't want to stop using that character. But Guardians looks like they're done. They did what they needed to do at the end of phase 3, and now they've made it survive phase 4, and they're going to have a closing to these characters. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll see them from time to time, but as a group film, that'll be nice. I'm excited for it. James Gunn has been kind of one of the more fresh faces in Marvel, and now I'm excited. Then that's part of the reason I'm excited for him to lead DC.
Yeah, I recall prominent scenes from both of the Guardians movies. There's some good stuff in both of those films, and I'm looking forward to whatever he's got going on next. We like Peacemaker on HBO off the DC side. We even kind of like the Suicide Squad. Even that movie wasn't too bad. So I don't know. James Gunn might be putting out a killer third one. We'll have to see when that movie comes out in May 5th. With that, we should move on to our final film of the episode. I'm going to be taking the summer on this one, so please excuse my clumsy delivery. The movie is Empire of Light. So Empire of Light is Sam Mendes' new feature, former director of 1917. He wrote and directed this one. And it wasn't until after we saw it, Andy actually pointed out just before we started recording, this is a very personal story for Sam Mendes. It's got a lot of ties to his family, his background. It's a film about the power of human connection during turbulent times, set in an English coastal town in the early 1980s. At least that's what IMDb says. In reality, Empire of Light is about a young woman who works at a movie theater. Not that young, actually. Olivia Colman is a middle-aged assistant manager at this wonderful little theater called the Empire Theater, just off the coast of this English town, who goes about doing her thing day to day, cleaning up popcorn and tearing tickets, until one day a young aspiring architect named Stephen starts working at the theater, played by Michael Ward, newcomer. I've not seen him before. And the two of them strike up a interesting connection. I don't want to give away too much about what's going on in Empire of Light. I think one of the best things about it is knowing less going in, but I should say up front, this film is understated. It is not big dramatic scenes. It is not huge action. It's mostly people just kind of hanging out, talking in rooms. And that's what bold cinema is all about. And I think Empire of Light's going to be really divisive. I find a connection to it because I actually used to work in a movie theater. And for some weird reason, a movie about the weird people that work at a movie theater like really resonates with me.
It's like Empire Records for movies.
Yeah, right. Totally. Or people used to work at, people watching Clerks in the 80s and being like, oh my God, that's like me at my job. So yeah. Office Space. In a way, I can connect with it, but it's not exactly about working at the movies. It's about more than that. Andy, what'd you think?
I thought there were things I liked about this movie, and there were things that I didn't. I am going to start with the positives. I think it looks incredible. It's I can't remember who's the DP.
Roger Deakins.
That's right, the great Roger Deakins, who did things.
It's one of the best, baby.
Dune, Blade Runner 2049 is one of the best cinematographers working today.
1917, which was all like simulated to be one take. Really incredible work.
So this takes place on kind of the seaside British town and this old rundown theater, and it looks kind of dilapidated. But when they get in the theater, when they turn up the lights, it's this brilliant reds and golds, and it's like the theater is a sacred place. And this place is running down like they have two screens which are not operational, or kind of, they're closed. There's pigeons living in there, so you get these kind of. It's a beautiful looking film. The plot for me doesn't really work because it's a little bit all over the place. Olivia Colman is the main character mostly, but it kind of shifts to other characters a lot, and it's trying to spin a lot of plates. It's about the connection of your friends and the people you work with. It's about mental health. It's about racism. It's about the patriarchy, all these things, and it doesn't quite say enough about all of them, and it's also a little slow for my taste. So there's good things about it, but narratively it just didn't hook me in.
No, I think Empire of Light, is a movie that's particular towards its writer, right? Almost like an intimate play, like that a writer would create. And Mendes, I think, has been seen as a director doing much larger things recently. So it's different to see him working, talking heads in rooms, which is some of the most boring cinema you can make. It's a challenge to make that interesting and to make that nuance and to make it multifaceted. It's a challenge for actors to pull off convincing performances in these settings. And Olivia Colman's a great start. She is doing really good work in here. And he pointed out it's a little like she's really going for the Oscar, which I kind of get, like, but I do also think Coleman's a great actress. Let me be clear. But it does feel like we're in that time of year when it's like now is the going for the Oscar time. Also, a big shout out for Michael Ward as Stephen. I've not seen him before. He is tremendous. He will be getting more work after this. We will be seeing more of Michael Ward. He's really good in this movie. Rock solid. Colin Firth as The theater manager does not have many scenes. He's great in the scenes he's in. Love Firth. Same goes for Toby Jones, who plays Norman, the kind of odd projectionist of this two-screen Empire Theater. Again, not many scenes. Solid when we see him. I really, that's kind of our notable cast. There's also Tom Brook, who's an up and comer. I don't know a lot of him, but otherwise, that's pretty much who's in this movie. And I think what is so interesting to me about what's going on here is much like a play. Like, it is a very small story, and it tackles some big ideas, but ultimately it's about, I think, the people you work with and the way you perceive them as like the person you see, the slice of an individual you see versus like who they are underneath and the real problems they face. For Olivia Colman's character and Hillary, those are issues of mental clarity and in some cases genuine mental illness. In Steven's case, Steven is a black man and he struggles like with people who are incredibly prejudiced against him, not only at work but outside of it. And other characters around him like struggle to handle that in a way that he feels is even remotely fair, like for reasons that are totally understandable. It's a movie about like seeing each other at that level, and maybe even just past that, because when you end up working with somebody for a while, like you start to develop a relationship, you see them regularly, you talk to them about their problems, and like in that way I thought that was really nice. I loved the Empire Theater as a setting, with four screens and two of them are running, which makes no sense, and then two screens that are like it creates a really like cool duality of a place where like downstairs you've got this wonderful rose colored like amber lights that illuminate everything and make it look like this classy snazzy theater where they're going to do the premiere for Chariots of Fire. It's going to be huge. The mayor's coming to see it. And then upstairs you have like this dilapidated paint peeling, like basically reflection of the exact same place as downstairs, but it's totally different lighting, and there's this blue daylight pouring in and big open windows where you can see the coast outside. And it's really cool to see our setting be this duality of our characters, like be two different things, be this presentation that the world sees that's nice and dressed up, and then behind the scenes like be broken and be crumbled and not really be working all that well. And it's cool to see a movie about people who work in that setting, who are that way. And it's small and it's understated. And I think Mendes doesn't. If anything, I think he doesn't hit on these issues hard enough. That was one of the things I thought. I
Right.
thought holding up mental illness and racism next to each other, even in the way of like two wayward souls like bonding and finding connection, is still like tough, man. Like those are two really different things, and it's apples and oranges. And I don't know if it really plays well
Well,
for
well,
across these two.
you can't just bring up these topics. You need to have some sort of journey with them. You need to be saying something, and it never quite does on either front. No, one of the things you were saying afterwards was that we don't see we see Hillary struggle with mental illness and kind of have some highs and lows with it, but we don't really see her journey. She'll have a low, she'll be off screen for a while, and then she'll come back, and they're like, oh, she's better now, and we don't really see her
Yeah.
working through these things. And then, it touches a lot on, uh, like I said, racism and kind of the resurgence of kind of like Nazis and skinheads in the early '80s. But again, and then what? And then what larger thing are you trying to say other than, oh, these things are bad? Obviously they're bad, but then what more are you addressing with putting this into the movie? It almost seems to the point, to me, it almost seems unnecessary. Like, if you're not going to say something about these topics, like, why are they even in?
Yeah, I like this idea of like voyeurism that comes with the employees at this theater, because when you're watching a movie, right, you're seeing the world through the lens of somebody else. You're holding that image, that movie, like just on the screen in front of you, right? Just out of reach, but something you can't really access and get to and be a part of. And our characters in this film very much are, their problems are presented that way. Like Coleman's issues are something like that Steven slowly finds out about over the course of the film. Steven, obviously, is somebody who struggled with prejudice his whole life. And we don't even get to see his home life until the third act of the film. And it's like surprising when the camera cuts to it. You're like, oh God, we're in Steven's house now. And this is his mom. And this is what his life looks like. And this is the wallpaper they have. Like, it's something that I think is effective because our characters work in a place that is based around the idea of like seeing the world through a very thin beam of light, just the thinnest lens possible, like just this square idealized version of how the world should be. And our characters are shown to us that very same way, even in the way that Andy and I sat in a theater and watched the movie, which was surprisingly meta for me, at least. um and I love that, like, we also have to watch our characters through that very thin veil. Like, we only get to see them bit by bit, and it's not until like you really get into it that it starts to unspool into something larger. But that being said, like, I also think that's a really contrived take on this movie. Because for all the things I like about it, it's kind of stunningly dry, and there were multiple parts where I was like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
It's real dry. There's not a lot of action happening on screen.
Well,
It's
it
yeah,
almost feels like a play in a
yeah,
lot of it,
it really
because
does.
again,
It reminds me of stage play. Yeah,
yeah, it's conversations in like the team locker room, in the ticket booth, in the uh projector room, in the abandoned theater upstairs, in this person's house. But it's a lots of conversations, and it's not, again, like, we want to see characters through their actions. We don't really see a lot of that. I think it's, again, a lot of talking in rooms.
it is. Yeah, it absolutely is. Like, and that was one of the things that I thought was neat about it. We were talking about it after the movie, and you already mentioned it, but the way, like, you don't really see Olivia Colman's like genuine problems. You only see her problems when somebody else is in the room there to watch her having these problems. And that's when the camera's there, and that's when we get to see it. Steven has the same issue. Like, we're never really hanging out with Steven like without any other characters. We only get to see him in the context of other people. Like, only in a public setting where he's engaging with others do we see him. And like, that's the bit of him we get to see. And you get to derive your character and how you feel about them from that. There's a great uh, little monologue in here from Toby Jones, who's the projector, and he says, the people out in the theater, all they see is a thin beam of light coming over their heads and then going to the screen. But back here, back in the projection room, it's knobs and sprockets and gears and loud noises, and it's a mess. And like, that's the way it should be, right? That like people only see the fantasized version of reality. They see what they want to see. They see the thing on the screen. The thing they don't see is like the ugly inner workings of like the challenges of reality. And like, I think that's kind of neat. I think it's neat that this movie has something to say about that. The problem is it's a little long. it's and I feel very biased because I worked at a movie theater. Like, I can't help but feel that way. I don't know if anybody who didn't would have that same connection with this. Um, so I don't know. It feels like a special movie, but I don't think it's going to be special for everybody, and that's kind of an issue.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's, yeah, I've heard it's been divisive. I've heard some people think it's too sentimental.
yeah.
But a lot of people have not liked it.
One more thing I wanted to mention, on top of the wonderful cinematography from Roger Deakins, fantastic score, I thought, from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Really, really small, and I like that, like, because it feels really sincere, builds to something powerful in the climax. Yeah, good stuff. I need to get it on my Spotify soundtrack list. And that's Empire of Light. Any other thoughts for recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Empire of Light?
I would say save it for streaming. If you're interested in this, it'll be probably streaming fairly quickly. It has not done well either. Again, in continuing the tradition of prestige films not finding an audience, it's going to be available to rent probably pretty soon. There are some things to like about it. Like I said, it's a beautiful film. Incredible cinematography from Roger Deakins. It's got a nice score. There are some strong performances. To me, it's just narratively not super cohesive. And Olivia Colman seems to get all the good parts. Everyone else is kind of playing second fiddle to her. You don't really have someone of equal energy to bounce off of. But like I said, Sam Mendes has made some incredible films. Of course, he won the Oscar for American Beauty back in '99. He made Road to Perdition, Jarhead, Skyfall, Spectre. So he's 1917. Like, he's an incredible filmmaker, and this is a smaller, more personal work.
Yeah.
And some of it works, some of it doesn't. But I would say, if you're interested, save it for streaming.
I would recommend you see this in a theater. if possible. Bit of a bigger recommendation from than Andy, but with the caveat that like I genuinely think you may not like this movie. Like there's a good chance. Like I didn't know what really to expect going in, and I was really surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I think all of the critiques are totally fair. Like, unfortunately, like it's a smaller film. Like it does not have the scope and the vision of Mendes's previous work, and I think that's healthy. I wish more directors did stuff like that. I've talked about wanting Nolan to make a movie like this for years. I'm like, make something small, like low budget, not many sets. Like, get back to like the really like the juice of filmmaking. And like I think Deakins is firing on all cylinders here, even if he's working with smaller sets. I think Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are really good. I like the direction. I just think it's a little over edited or under edited. I don't know. It's just a little too much. It doesn't quite ring that bell as loud as I think it needs to. But that's Empire of Light. That's the movie. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to checking it out when it comes to some kind of streaming service eventually. We'll see. And that's our episode 199. Oh my God, Andy, next week. Big week.
That's right.
Episode 200.
Episode 200. And we're bringing it in with a huge movie, one of the biggest movies of the year, Avatar, The Way of Water, follow-up to 2009 Avatar, directed by James Cameron, starring everyone and their mother. It's in this. I'm not going to look it up right now. This is supposed to be a huge movie. It's supposed to make well over $1 billion. We'll see if it does. I have tickets to see it on Friday. The theater was fairly packed in some of the IMAX screens, so there's definitely a lot of people going. And we're also going to be doing our top 10 lists of 2022, the best films of 2022 that we've managed to see. And I always say, if they're not out by now, they don't deserve to be on the list. If you're coming out on December 29th, then like White Noise, not interested.
Right. I'm excited for the first time I think in show history I've actually had a list going since the beginning of the year.
That's how you got to keep it.
I'm not putting this together the day before. Like, let me go back and look at what films we've reviewed and get my list together. So, and I'm excited to see how high Avatar is going to be on there, because that's going to be, big contender for number one. I actually am excited to see Avatar. I'm more excited than Andy, I think. I have see the danger of Twitter is like the brain rot, and I have let film Twitter get like
hype train.
Ironically, but I'm on the ironic hype train, but I was on it so long it ran into the same course as the normal hype train, and now I think it might do good. We'll see. If Avatar does good, it's gonna be word of mouth. That's how it's gonna, like, the opening numbers aren't there. It's gonna do well, but it's not gonna make $2 billion in one weekend. Like, it's gonna have to be good enough that people go home and tell their friends and tell their family, we're gonna go watch this over the holiday. It's gonna be in theaters for like 10 weeks. It's gonna be in over Christmas. Viewing. Yeah, like genuinely, it's going to have to be the spectacle that people expect from Cameron. And I think Andy might have the most damning critique of this so far. Cameron did this with Titanic. Cameron did this with Avatar, but both of those were new properties. This is a sequel, and a lot of people feel like they already did 3 Hours of Blue People. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to have the juice.
The other big thing is streaming. That's the other thing. But back in those days, you didn't have streaming, wasn't a thing to compete with. Now there's so many people who will just like, oh, just wait. I'll wait for when it's on streaming.
Look, time will tell. All right, but I'm going to be seeing it Sunday while Andy got Friday IMAX tickets. I wanted the full D-Box XD loudest speaker big screen experience I could get, and I couldn't find D-Box IMAX, so D-Box for me. I hope I'm doing the show next week from the ICU with a broken spine because I was thrown through the screen.
Water damage from having ingested too much water.
That's right. Yeah, like I'm half blind and still recovering because I was shot in the eyes with amazing 4D effects. Yeah, I'm excited. I think no matter what, it will be a fun time at the movies. I'm also a little wary of rewatching Avatar 1. I had a friend ask me, like, hey, you should come over and rewatch it 1. I'm like, it's 3 hours.
Here's something I just thought of. Like, one thing I did not rewatch because it was too long was Spider-Man No Way Home, which I enjoyed. But that movie had a lot of like, people kept going to see it. And I couldn't bring myself to keep going to see it. And again, that's going to have to happen with Avatar. Like, if it's going to make the kind of money it needs to make, it's going to have to be like Top Gun Maverick and play for 12 weeks and win every week.
Right.
about.
It's going to have to be number one like 9 weeks in a row. And we'll see. Like maybe. And with that, we should probably wrap up the show. We already know what we're watching next week, Avatar and the top 10 of 2022. It's going to be a big week. Also, like I know we got a lot going on next week. Might be too big of an episode. Might be worth doing just the smallest mini review for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio on Netflix, which Andy watched, and Disney's Strange World, which I watched. We've seen both of these movies independently.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just having a word next
Go
week.
see Pinocchio. Watch Pinocchio if you can. That's what I'll say right now.
Go see Pinocchio.
It's on Netflix.
Buy your tickets.
No, it's on Netflix. That's the thing.
It's on Netflix. It's Strange World to be on Disney Plus, I think, this month. Would recommend. There you go. Mini review done. If you enjoyed what we're doing, gosh, I got it back on track here. If you enjoyed what we're doing here on the show today, if you like this episode of Off Script, if you want to tell us more about these films that we watch, maybe tell us films that we should watch that you'd recommend. You can email us at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com and check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, where we post full episodes, clips, interviews, exciting things we're doing around town. You can check us out on Facebook, where we live stream the show every Tuesday when we do it at about 5 p.m. CST. Live streaming right now, actually. If you're watching on the live stream, hi. Nobody is. It's fine. But you could be next week when we're on Facebook live streaming the show at Offscript Film Review. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we upload all our live streams to YouTube. You can follow us, subscribe over there, like, comment, rate, and review. And the biggest way you can help your boys here at Offscript is just subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting platform, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia. Follow us on any one of those things, all right? Social media or otherwise. And we'll keep up with you right here on Offscript. I'm excited about episode 200 next week. I should probably pull the chute and get out of here before I stumble over my words anymore. From all of us at Offscript, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.